They haven't agreed yet. They haven't agreed yet. But I'm going by faith. And the fact that I've even got called with the decision maker is huge. So if I get nothing else, I'm just grateful. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, wow. So much there. So much in one of the things that you said there. One, even the boldness is one. Two, I think it's really important that when you do get your foot in the door, that you bring your A game. You bring your A game. I know a lot of speakers, coaches are into numbers. So if there are like 3 people in the room, they're not really, and all that. But I think that's a huge mistake. First of all, I'm a Christian, so it's irrespective. I have a specific call to do my best. So irrespective of whether there's one person in the room or there's 1,000 people in the room, makes no difference. I'm going to give 100%. And you never know who's going to be in that room. You never know. And you never know who they know. I see everybody as a door, not a wall. They may not need your services, but you never know who they know. So it's really important that you're, how can I put this? I was speaking somewhere at a church on Sunday, and I was speaking about Jacob in the Old Testament. And one of the things that Jacob said when he was liaising with Laban, for those of you who are not Christians, this is a Bible story. He was speaking to Laban, who was his father-in-law and who had employed him, and his father-in-law was, taking advantage of him and all that. He said, "My righteousness will speak for me." And then he read him his resume. He read him what he has been doing for the last 20 years, and his resume was top notch. That guy brought his A game when he was tired, when he was cold, when it was hot, when the sheep was stolen. He gave it his all. So he was able to read that off. And I think sometimes, even when we get our foot in the door, because we don't bring our A game, nobody mentions our name when we're not in the room. So I think that's really, really important. Yeah, and I mean, I've been on a couple of your courses. You are phenomenal. So yes, I think that's really, really important. Okay, we're rooting for you for Meta. We're rooting for you. Okay.
In advance.
Izzy, yes, just before during the break, we had one of your flyers up. What's happening with that? What's that about?
So it's one of my products. It's something I do every month.
There it is. Okay.
I just help women. So most people would say, you know what, summer is on, spring is coming. I feel like I need a detox. I feel like, I've gone off my plan or A game. So it's just a detox. So usually most of the problems are usually very cellular. So I usually just encourage people, if you want to kickstart your journey, just do a cellular detox. It does make a lot of difference. It just helps you get into that path again. So it's something I put out every month, and yeah, it's quite interesting and it's quite beneficial as well.
Okay, when we get to the end of the show, if you just give us the details as to how we can get a hold of that, how our listeners can contact you, that would be great. Okay, so this one's for Dr. Izzy. You said Dr. Eyes is your passion. How important do you think passion is in business?
So I think personally, because I would still call myself a baby businesswoman. So passion for me is what keeps me going, because it's not all going to be, blue skies and stars and rosy. And you know how you have the dream in your head, how you're going to do this and do that. It doesn't always manifest that way. Mm-hmm. But because you have a vision, because it's something that you're passionate about, because it's your baby, like Michelle said, it's something you love, it's something that you would do for free if you did not get paid. That's what makes you show up every day, and it's so key, because you don't want to. So for me, sometimes a job is what pays the bills, but your baby, your business, your passion is what makes you get up every day. Even if you have one you still show up the next day. Even if, you put out whatever and it doesn't get the response that you're expecting, you still continue to do it, because you're doing it with the belief that one day, this passion, there's a fire in me that's going to birth something.
Yeah.
So I think the passion is the constant fire that just continues to give energy and give life to that business. And from then onwards, you see it evolve into something that you always wanted it to become.
Yeah, so true. I mean, for me, there's no substitute for passion, and people like to be around passionate people. The other day I went to a traditional wedding on Saturday, and there was this particular lady in the room, and she just exuded. I can't explain it. She was very passionate about what she was doing at this wedding, and people they just gravitated towards her. I just watched how they reacted towards her. Now, if you carry that kind of energy into a business, half your marketing is done.
Yes.
Because people just want to be around people who have passion, who are passionate about something. I don't know if you know much about Anita Roddick. Anita Roddick started the Body Shop, and those who knew her said she was crazy. There was no way she was going to fail because she was so passionate about what she did. They said people used to avoid her at parties because she used to corner you, and once she corners you and starts talking about her vision for Body Shop, you were done for the night. She wouldn't let you go. So yeah, passion is so important. And just like you've said, passion drives. It is a force all by itself. It drives. It's what gets me up in the morning. I don't care if nobody else believes or sees in what I'm seeing or what I believe in. I'm getting up because passion is something that's intrinsic. It's not affected by external circumstances. It's intrinsic. Thank God for that. So just like you said, even when I failed and I failed spectacularly, I will get up the next morning because whatever it is that God has placed on the inside of me, man, it is burning. So I can't even sit there. I gotta get up. So yeah, that's quite important. Okay, Michelle, how do you balance family and business?
I don't.
You don't, right? Okay.
I'll give you a bit of and I really respect the women that do and they get it right, but I get it wrong. Literally, and because I know I'm going to get it wrong, I've spoken to both my husband and my daughter and my mum. She's always in the mix. I tell them about it, so they know that the majority of my time I'm on entrepreneurial mode. So, which means, like as I'm sitting here now, I have my on-air signing. That means don't even come in the room. Don't even sniff around.
Don't even think about it.
Don't even think about it. So, but what I did agree with the family is that there's sometimes I'm going to be working longer than necessary, and sometimes I just won't be doing any work. So they know now my routine. So like on Friday, I don't work on a Friday at all. That's my time just to chill. We go out, and so Friday, Saturday, Sunday is my chill time with the family. But that's as much balance as we have, because usually, and because of passion, I want to work more in my business. So although I don't have to work every hour God sends, I enjoy it. I can be up at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, working on a document because I'm just like, I love what I do. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask about balance. And so my daughter was like, oh mum, can you help me with this? And I'm like, oh no, in a minute. But then what I do eventually find time. I carve out time. But when it's her time, you can't get me to do anything. So if I've committed to the time with the family, that is it. But yeah, I'm still learning to get the balance.
I like the honesty. To be honest, I think it is very difficult to get the balance right. I think it's very, very difficult. Something has to give. You've only got 24 hours, so something will have to give. One of the ladies that we had on last week, she said something similar to what you said, Bimbala Sagi. She said, I can be on that phone because she's a property magnate. And she said, I could be on that phone all day long. And my kids are like, Mom, do you mind? We're trying to talk to you. So sometimes she just has to put the phone down and then go to them. But then she's still got one eye on the phone or something like that. So yeah, it's difficult to get it right. But I think one of the things that I encourage people to do is to bring your family along. Even when you're at the very start of the business, bring your family along. Let them know what it is that you plan to do. Let them know why you're doing what you're doing. If you're going to have to work extra hours, let them know why during this period Mummy might not be very attentive, but doesn't mean Mummy doesn't love you. And as soon as we get this done, because I think, especially when kids are young, they tend to take it personally. So you do have to be a bit careful with that. And then, of course, those of us who are married, you also have to keep an eye on the marriage, because I've known women who have lost their relationship because they're always working. I don't think that's success. I don't think that's success at all. So there are times that you will have to, let hubby know what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it. And if you can pick up the kids today, because I'm not going to be able to pick up the kids and all that kind of thing. But then again, it's also important that you are a team, because I think it's easier if you see yourselves as a team. so that hubby doesn't begin to resent you and all that kind of thing. But yes, it is quite difficult to draw the balance. But yeah, we'll keep trying. We'll keep trying. Something I want to talk about is property. Now, I noticed both of you are into property. You are in property in Dubai, you're in property here, we're in property here as well. In fact, just before I came on the show, I was keeping an eye on the clock because I was at an auction. So I was like, oh, I hope they do my one before I come on the show. So yeah, try and hold all these balls together. But yeah, so I want to hear, what do you think? Why is property so important in wealth creation? Is it?
So for me personally, I don't, and this is something I'm learning as I'm going. I've realized that, I'm not from like the financial, some people have studied finance, they know like money language really well.
Yeah.
I would say that's me. I kind of like have just learned because I'm really passionate about understanding wealth.
Yeah.
Brick and mortar was easy to understand. It's pretty straightforward. There isn't really much language, and I know that regardless of what part of the world you're in, brick and mortar is almost certain that you're heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
For me personally, I've seen people in my life, maybe not even family, friends, and people I've been connected with, just see them, buy a plot of land, and then a couple of years later, it's a lot of money, build a house. And just that constant income that comes from it is what has propelled me into making sure that even if I'm, doing stocks or doing, my lifestyle, salary or work, that I'm pulling funds somewhere to make sure that when that fund is ready, it's going into brick and mortar. Like that's just like the path where I feel like, it's certain, it works. If you're patient, if you're consistent, if you're disciplined,
yeah,
it does work. So yeah.
Agree. Michelle, you're out in Dubai. How'd you get into that?
I've got a friend out there he runs an agency out there, and we had given him some money so that we can co-invest, and we saw the return on our investment, and it was a small investment. And I just thought to myself, gosh, if I could afford to pay more, invest more, I definitely would. And then and that was like a few years back. But since then, the Dubai property market has expanded its growth, and because it's like almost like seen as the center hub of the world in terms of easy commute to different countries and the expat industry, the tourism, it just made business and commercial sense to not invest in another property in the UK, but use that money and invest in Dubai, and they have higher property return rates, and it's tax free as well, so that sounded good. So and it just gives you an excuse to go out to Dubai, and it's sunny, and it's just I prefer Dubai than the UK, if I'm really honest. So it just made more sense for me, commercial sense in terms of it's a way to create generational wealth, and also because I just like the sun and the sea. So those are the two fundamental reasons. And actually, as well, I managed to get my daughter work experience in one of the luxury real estate agencies out there because my daughter wants to do real estate, and she's just she's only 17, but she's ready. She goes to networking events, property investment events, but she got COVID just before, like 2 days before her flight. So it was crushing, absolutely crushing. But you know what? I always say everything happens for a reason. We just don't know what was planned on the other side. But yeah, I think there's just more scope for UK investors out in Dubai because the property markets are so buoyant.
Yeah. I think I'm just like Izzy. Some of these new investments, nothing wrong with them, but I don't always understand them. But bricks and mortar, I'm an old-fashioned girl. I need to see it and touch it.
Exactly.
So that works for me. I want to encourage my listeners. Listen, I know they're saying that the property market is slowing in the UK, but this might actually be a good time for you to buy, honestly, because a lot of people, because money is tight, not everybody can buy. A lot of people are confused. A lot of people are hesitant. So for those of you who have the balls, this is actually a good time to go forward. It really is a good time to go forward. So I can't encourage you enough. So you heard it here. Okay, Michelle, your TED Talk. All right, so I watched your TED Talk, and I got to say, enough respect. Well done. Well done. It was really good. I want to ask, how has that talk enhanced your business, or has it enhanced your business? And if so, do you have any tips for those who might want to try to do one?
Yeah, so the first question is a very good question, because I think a lot of people think that doing a TEDx talk is going to propel them, and it's not. It really, well, I can't say it really doesn't. You need to know how to leverage it. So you still have to do the work. It will not work by itself. So me just having a TEDx talk just on TED.com and just thinking I'm going to get business that way, it won't happen. I still have to market it. So effectively, there's still an engine behind it. So what I tend to do, when I do talks to corporates, now this is a trick. Corporates love to have speakers who have done TEDx talk. So they would ask, "Oh, have you done any special talks?" And I'll say, "Yeah, I've done a TEDx talk." And they're like, "Oh my God, this is so great!" Then they go and have a watch of it. And I notice on their marketing that they send internally, it always leads with Michelle, TEDx speaker, Michelle Raymond. That's so it definitely helps in corporate. They love it. And just in general, getting more speaking engagements, I think I can leverage the brand better. I don't leverage it as much as I should. And I think because I did it more for it was a personal journey for me. And even as having heard the talk and seen it, you'll notice that it was less about, I just want to be a speaker, I just want to talk about it. It was an occasion for me where I was able to face what I went through and give my perspective on it. So I had all these other personal reasons for doing it. And for me, I think it's one of the best things I've ever done. Just for me to be able to do that and to talk about it, because I do believe when crime's committed, everybody is so quick to blame the perpetrator and the perpetrator's family and think, oh, where was the wife? Where's the mother? And we suffered. Me as a wife, I suffered dearly, just where I used to live, just how, because it was in the newspaper, and how people treated me. I had people spit in my face. I had people throw bricks through my window in my house. And at this time, we had separated and he was living elsewhere, but I still got attacked. So people don't see that and people don't know it unless people like me talk about it. So yes, it definitely was a personal thing for me. I enjoyed it. And for any tips of anybody who wants to do it. Now, I didn't apply. I was speaking to somebody and I told somebody about my personal story. And they said to me, oh my God, this would be great for a TEDx talk. But when I pitched it in TEDx, they didn't want it. And for another year, gosh, I'm always one of those ones waiting for a year. And it took a whole year later for them to come back to me and say they want it. And you know what they said? They said the story is too disturbing to talk about.
Yeah, I think too raw. Yeah.
And there was only one woman in the management team who wanted me. The rest of them didn't. And it seemed like God moved everyone out of the way. A whole year later, the woman came back to me. She said she's still there and everybody's left. Am I ready to do the talk? And I said, yeah, I'm ready.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think the best way to get TED Talks is definitely referrals, but you can also apply. And even when I look for some of my clients who want to get into TED Talks, we look at location. You can just find locations and just really understand what the theme is, and you have to make sure that your talk applies to their theme, so that you can't just do any talk. It has to relate to the theme. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks for the tips. Okay, ladies, last 10 minutes of the show, we do something called the Book Corner. And this is part of our education to up our financial literacy. So what I do is I usually pick a book that relates to business and finance and review it, or just teach a little bit from it. And of course, this year, because I've just written a new book, Wealth Creation God's Way, we are currently reviewing my book. It's my show, so we're reviewing my book. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's in the book, where I'm up to chapter 2, and then I want to get your input in some of the things that I say. All right, so chapter 2, we're looking at avenues for wealth creation, avenues for wealth creation. And one of the first avenues that I talk about is you can create wealth by being married. Create wealth by being married. And this, of course, is a biblical book. It's a book about wealth creation, but it's based on biblical principles. Everything that's in here practically came from the Bible. So one of the stories that I draw on in relation to being able to create wealth or becoming wealthy when you are married comes from the story of Abraham. And the Bible says that Abraham was rich because he went down to Egypt. At the time, he was almost on the verge of starvation. He went down to Egypt with his wife, and his wife was really hot, and Pharaoh liked his wife. And the Bible says, and God showed Abraham, not God, and Pharaoh showed Abraham kindness because of his wife Sarah. And I draw a lot from that because, just like the Bible says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. I often find that men who are financially successful often draw their strength from the women in their lives, from yeah. I remember a friend of mine saying to me that she and her husband had a company, and she and her husband went to dinner with this Jewish millionaire and his wife, and they were just tapping his brains and asking him, so what is the secret of your wealth? And he said, she's sitting right here. She's sitting right here.
Oh, that's nice.
What are your views on, do you think it's easier to grow wealth when you're married? Michelle, what are your thoughts?
If you marry the right man. That's what it comes out. If you marry the right man, yes. Or if you marry a man who has potential and has a growth mindset. So I think I definitely see this, and I've seen this with a number of people who they have married into a family where, and it comes down to mindset. They have a poverty mindset and limited mindset. So even if they don't have the money, they don't know how to make the money. They don't know how to keep the money, how to multiply the money. So I think it really depends on who you marry. My husband, I feel he married into wealth. I think he married into wealth, you know. And my husband is Thai, yeah. And plus, I think different cultures have different things. So in the Thai culture, it's not money is not big for them. They like to live very, what's the word, mediocre, and so he will make money, and in the type of job he has, he makes a lot of money, but he's not so big on money. Whereas my mum's brought me up to how can we make more money? How can we multiply the money? So we have two different perspectives on money. And so this is why we had to do a piece of work, like some money mastery mindset, to get us on the same page. Because if one person's on a different wavelength than you, it can cause discord. But we went on a joint program together, so we're now both on the same side of money.
Okay, Izzy, what do you think?
I think Michelle is really spot on. I think marriage can either break you financially or make you. If you do have someone, and it really comes down to mindset, really, because everybody can learn. I don't think everyone necessarily have to have, like, it's a good thing if everyone has a money mindset. You know, everyone's bringing 100% to the table. That's a good thing. But if you have one party bringing 100% and the other person not quite there, you know, that's not really a bad thing. But I think the worst thing would be if they're not willing to learn. Yeah. And I think the worst thing is if they now begin to stand in your way.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, people will be like, if I'm not doing it, then you're not doing it. You know, you can, you know. So I think that's even a bigger problem. So I think for people listening and for people who are not married, because, you know, if you're married, you now have to navigate that space. And, you know, Misha, that's a really good thing, you know, for a man to be willing to go on a course to up his mindset, that already speaks volumes of the kind of person that he is.
Yeah.
That's solid. That's really good. Because it's one thing to identify that, you know, my wife has got the game, my husband yesterday, we were having some tete-a-tete, and I said to him, so I need you to tell me 3 things that you love about me, and then I'll go. And then he was like, oh, not again. And I was like, tell me. And then he said, one of the things he said was, I like your go-getter mindset. Like anything you set your mind to do, you do it. And that's how I've always been, And he saw that, even as a young person, when I was really young, he knew that that's the kind of person that I was, and he'd fallen in love with that. He's not necessarily that kind of person, but he's not the kind of person who has ever stood in my way. He's so supportive. If I want to jump from Kilimanjaro, he's like, babe, how I would, I will hold you at the bottom. What do you need to jump to help me? So I think mindset makes a lot of difference. And if you're not married, make sure you understand what your money language is. You want to speak the same money language. It's not enough to have butterflies in your stomach. See how he relates with money. Money is a relationship. How does he give? How does he take? Does he pay his tithes? Does he help his family members? What does he do with the money that he has? All of these things, you need to see them. You need to see how he talks about money. Because being laid back will not pay the bills. You've got mouths to feed. You've got generational wealth to build. So you have to have these conversations. And I think it's really important because it makes the love sweet. Money makes love sweet. And not anything else. All that, I'm not a materialistic person. It's a joke. When there is money, if you take me to Keynes now, I will come back a happier woman. It's what it is. So let's stop deceiving ourselves and pretending like as if, I'm okay. No. We need to all speak that language. And if you as a woman understand what money is, you understand what it means, your relationship with money, you can understand somebody else's relationship with money. So yeah, as young women, we need to, my 10-year-old will say, I want a guy who loves the Lord, has 6-pack, and is loaded. Because you know what? I'm going to be loaded as well, but I want my children to be extra privileged. I'm like, well done, girl.
Okay, I must admit that went in a slightly an unanticipated direction, but it was really good. Oh dear. I do want to just quickly say something. If there's anybody listening, and I think it's important, the show goes just beyond money and all that. We are human beings, and more importantly, I'm a woman of God, so these kind of things are quite important to me. But if there's anybody listening who is contemplating divorce, and I know divorce is everywhere right now, but I do want to caution you a bit. There's some research that shows that in the UK in particular, one of the poorest people groups are divorced women over 50. So relationships, your relationship status does actually have a bearing on your wealth, because by the time you split the assets and all those kind of things, it does have a bearing. So if you are in a difficult relationship and you're contemplating divorce, that is definitely something that you need to take into consideration. I'm not saying in an abusive relationship, that's not what I'm saying, but it is something you need to take into consideration. You know how men are, they swan off and they find someone else, but the women tend to become a statistic. So it's definitely something that you might want to think about. Okay, we're nearly there, ladies. Where can we find you, Michelle? Where can we find you, and what are we finding you for? Oh yeah, there's something that you're doing in November. If Archie could kindly put it on there. Michelle's doing something in November. Yeah.
So in November, this is a big thing for me. It may not be for other people, but it's definitely a big thing for me. So I'm organising and hosting my very first corporate event. Because I do lots of work around supplier diversity. I noticed that they stop short in terms of using diverse suppliers. They're happy to get us in to talk about diversity, but in terms of their supply chain, they're still using the big white brands. And I'm here to help break that mold, because I think if you want to be a really truly diverse and inclusive organisation, it's a whole ecosystem. So the event is called the Diverse Suppliers Visibility Conference, and it's for people like us to raise our visibility and our market readiness so that we can sell our services into corporate market. So it could be corporate America, it could be corporate UK. so that there's more Black, Asian, and women business owners who's on the supply chain. So I'm challenging them to rethink their procurement process, their tendering process, which is indirectly discriminatory against Black and Asian minority, because how it's written, how it's worded, all of that just makes it so much harder. And so I'm putting on this event in November to really push the barriers and get people like us there in front of some of these bigger brands that have an appetite to work with diverse business owners. And let's secure some contracts next year, you know, some big lucrative contracts, not the 1,000 or 3,000 or 4,000. I'm talking about, and there's contracts I've seen for 125,000, 250,000, which means we have to come and work together to, you know, tender for some of these contracts. So yeah, that's what the event is about. I'm really excited. I've got the venue sorted. I've got a headline sponsor. I've got Lloyd's Bank as the headline sponsor for that, which is amazing. And I'm trying to work on some other sponsors, and then I'm going to be selling tickets. So hold the date, 10th of November. It's going to be in central London, in Bishopsgate. Yeah, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. And you'll find me, the best thing to do is to follow me on my socials, predominantly LinkedIn and Instagram, under Michelle Raymond, and I'll be updating as we go along.
Okay. Well done, you girl. Well done, you. Something you said there I think is really important. I mean, even whilst both of you were speaking today, I'm thinking, okay, how can these ladies collaborate? How can they collaborate? Yeah. Listen, the day of each one doing it to death on their own, that day is gone, ladies and gentlemen. That day is gone. You have got to learn to collaborate. Not everybody is a thief. Not everybody is unreliable. Some people have integrity. Look for a group of people who have integrity. I'm telling you, if people didn't have integrity, they would not be on my show. I don't have anyone that has a question mark over their character on my show. So, yeah, you've got to start thinking collaboration so that we can get together and start bidding for the big things. Yes. Start bidding for the big things. Yeah,
we've definitely got to do that. And I think more of us, we'll definitely connect Dr. Izzy as well, because I just want to know more about what you do. So if I hear about opportunities, I can send them over to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm definitely coming for your program in November, 100%. Well done.
Michelle, I'll send my account details.
Yes.
After she collects the money.
Oh dear. Dr. Izzy, where can we find you?
So www.drezzie.com. So it's DOCTORIZIE, one word.com. And I'm on Instagram as Dr. Izzy as well. I'm on Facebook. I'm on everywhere. I think that's it. I think those are my names.
I gotta say, I find when I watch you on Instagram, I'm like, this woman is not human. I'm sorry. This woman is not. Michelle, you've got to go and see her. If she's not lifting some weight, and when I say weight, I mean weight. I'm not talking about those little dumbbells. I'm talking about weights. If she's not, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. I sit there like this. I'm like, oh my God. Is she for real? Is she for real? Honestly, I don't know how you do it. But yeah, guys, go and check her out. Go and check her out on Instagram. That's Dr. Izzy. Dr. Izzy. You will be amazed at what she's doing over there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming to the BB Means Business show once again. Listen, if you haven't got this book, and here's a subtle hint to my guests, if you haven't got this book, this is a good time for you to visit my website, www.bbclement.com/shop, and get yourself that book. It's £15 plus package and postage, filled with tips and advice as to how you can biblically, sound advice as to how you can create wealth God's way. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much once again. I will be here same time next week. And have a great week and go and make some money. See you next week.
Take care.
Thanks for having me. Nice to meet you, Michelle.
Yeah, you too, definitely.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.